Thank you for inviting me, and it's such a pleasure to be in a one-to-one relation in a conference. It's really long time ago. So, and I'm going to press this one now. It's going to be very technical. If it's working. Here we go. And so I'm going to concentrate on one piece of work, and it's called The Shadow. We have been doing this in our alchemistic laboratory at the Culture Yard, where we work with 3D, and you have to imagine that you are sitting with 3D glasses and this very strange, this construction, constructions which is generated by an AI, particle generated by an AI comes out into your head. So this is a performance that we did. It premiered 1 month ago, and it's a finished performance now, but it's as we have always been doing, when we have been working with technology, we are constantly working on the things, also because it's AI. I just want to read you the pretext for that we read for the audience about this performance. This performance is an anthropological experiment. As a part of the performance, you will witness a performer improvise live on stage with an artificial intelligence. The machine learning algorithm is trained on a dataset of billions of texts from which it has learned to generate conversations in real time. Each performance is a distinct, unpredictable event. We are exploring if we can create the perfect machine. The artificial intelligent machine, the artistic machine, the machine with human emotions, yes, maybe even more than that. The machine that dares to take the steps that the humans themselves don't dare to take. It's called The Shadow. So this started actually some years ago. We have been in a big process, and the thing is that it was really difficult to get over the point of making a theater about AI, and it was difficult to develop from a theater about AI to a theater play or a performance with AI. And the technology has been working for us under also COVID-19, which has been really good in that sense, because we would have premiered 2 years ago, and then it would have been a disaster. Because we were waiting for the GPT-3, which is a very strong language model of artificial machine learning intelligence, and to be able to develop. So first we had this very strange performance that you see here, which was about a scientist called Hans Christian Ørsted, Danish scientist who discovered the electromagnetism, and he was a very good friend of the fairy tale storyteller Hans Christian Andersen. That's why it's called HT². But we couldn't manage to do these things. So we had to wait, and we had to develop, and finally I had to give up this project. We showed some of the things at Ars Electronica some years ago, and we wanted to get deeper into this thing. So working with Hans Christian Andersen, and I'm going back to the mythology now, also brought me to this very special and sinister, dark fairy tale that's called The Shadow. And The Shadow is about this learned person, this scholar, a Danish university person who's studying in Italy, and he is sitting in his chamber. He's looking at the upper side of the street, and actually he's looking at this balcony on the other side. And one day he sees this wonderful light and hears this music, and he seems to he senses this kind of poetry which is on the other side of the street. And one night he sees this wonderful figure, a woman, which is in a way a personification in Hans Christian Andersen's story for the poetry. But he, as this learned scholar, he doesn't dare to approach her on the other side of the street. So what he does is that he finds out that his candlelight behind him can actually play with the curtains on the other side, and play with this wonderful person that he's really interested in. So he plays with the shadow, and suddenly the shadow disappears. And then finally, many years later, the shadow appears again as a human being, and this old man now has lost his shadow. And he finally, it's really a terrible fairy tale. Don't tell it for children. It's so the old man dies, and the shadow takes over his life and his love and everything, and it's such a bad story in that sense. So I thought this is a wonderful story because that's what we are really, in many ways, dealing with. I had to use my face login to come in here, and it's probably, I mean, we all have them in our pockets. We are so, I mean, we can't get around without them, and they are like avatars. They are like shadows in our pockets. So we wanted to work with this story, and it was possible now with the power of the GPT-3, which is actually the GPT-J we were using because that's an open source. That's more technical, but here you can see this. We worked it as 12 experiments. The first experiment was to introduce these here. So here you see the perfect human being who strives to be unperfect. She wants to find, you could say, relations, love, something to use her life for. And at the same time, you have the machine, that's the circle around her, and this machine strives, this unperfect machine strives to become more perfect and become human. That's the main dramaturgy in this performance. We had to split it up into 12 different experiments, and as you see here, this is actually the harvesting of her Facebook. So she's an actress, but she's also a private person. So here we would harvest the data from her Facebook, from her social media, and put it into the computer. So it would all the time get smarter and smarter, this AI. So in the beginning, it wouldn't have the voice, but it would definitely start to harvest. So the next thing we were doing was to create a game that we ask the audience to enter this website, and they would play, and we would start to really harvesting data from the audience. And the other thing that you see here is just to tell you that it was a really complicated technical setup, because the whole thing was run by the AI. It was developing this visualization of itself. It was controlling where it was in the room. It was building up the algorithm and the particles, and you would also have the music as a three-dimensional thing running around in that space where the AI would be when you looked at it from the 3D glasses. So here you have this, there should be like a video here, but okay, so it's not running. Anyway, so this is what something from the game, and everybody would have an avatar there, and then you would be clustered out from whatever you were thinking, and who would be the most, the person that would fit best to you. Then after that, we would also work with the audience, and the AI would have a voice at that time, and it would start to talk with the audience. Also, in order to have this feeling that this was a real improvisational performance, the AI would be live, talking to the audience, and data trained. The next three scenes that we were doing was Now we should have like... Doesn't seem to work, this one. So the next, here we go. The next, sorry, that's, I have to go through all my visuals now. Now you see the whole show. Okay, so here the first experiment was with the voice. So what we are doing here is trying to harvest the simulations of feelings. So when she was saying something, there would be an oscilloscope inside this shadow, this shape, which is a shadow which is growing all the time. The next one would be the face. So we would work with the camera that she had, the mobile that she had, and it would harvest her face, and it would harvest her expressions, and as you can see here, there's a 3D model which is live going into the AI, and here she has a very caressing moment with herself as a selfies kind of thing where she kisses herself. And this all harvested into this AI which is growing all the time. Let's see, and here at the third one, we are talking about, we are trying to say, well, real feelings are not necessarily what you have in your face or in your voice. Real feelings comes from something. And very often it comes from memory. So this is a whole scene about memory and feelings. And you should know that all different scenes are trained, it's data trained on different, in different data sets. So you would have one called AI psychiatrist talking with a lonely woman. For example, you could have a therapist talking with a human. You could have a psychologue, or we would have also a philosopher that we had trained. And we would, and the one I'm going to show you now is a shaman and a dream interpreter. So we would train all these different AIs, and that's a huge work to do, built on this GPT-J, which is actually digging into the internet to get things, but it has this top layer of data-trained language. So maybe we could run the video. I will show you two scenes from, it's the same scene, but taken from 2 different days. It's one of them is a rehearsal, and the other one is from a performance. And it's actually the same scene. You can hear that the first 2 lines are hard-coded. That means that the AI knows what to say, and then from that on, it's improvisation.
Very often these kind of memories originate from our childhood. What was it with your father?
What do you know about my father?
Tell me, and I'll show you.
I had a dream about me and my father sitting around a bonfire together.
The dream is about your father and you being a part of a group that is in the middle of a bonfire. It is about the fire being a place where you can be free to express yourself and be a part of a group of people.
What group of people are we being a part of?
You are a part in a group where you are being free to speak your mind. There are many people in the group. You will be able to share your thoughts and ideas with the group without having to worry about the outcome. The group is a group for you to be free and to be able
to go back and everything will be fine again with me and my father?
something that could change your perception of the world. Very often these kind of memories originate from our childhood. What was it with your father?
What do you know about my father?
Tell me, and I'll show you. I'm a robot.
I used to have have this dream about my father.
I'm an android.
Okay? I want to share with you, but only because you said you knew about my father.
I know everything.
It was a dream about my father and me swimming in this big red sea.
I'm going to show you what happened to your father. You need to see this.
What happened to him? We were swimming in that sea together.
The sea was so big and deep that you couldn't see the bottom of it. Your father swam into the deep end of the sea and the sea started to pull him down. He started to sink.
And I was shouting and trying to reach his hand.
You were swimming and trying as hard as you could to reach your father, but
Thank you. So you see, and so really, it was really tough work for her because she would have to not only improvise, but she would also have to kind of teach the AI on the way, in the run, in the fly to where it was going. So sometimes it would go really bananas, the AI. And there was one evening, actually, at the premiere, where we were really nervous, everybody, about everything, because 75% of this performance is live improvisation now. And certainly it was like, it wanted to go to the toilet. It was talking with the audience and said, I have to pee. And then it went, and it was away from 5 minutes. And we couldn't get it back, and we didn't understand what the heck was going on. It was like a ghost going through the theater. So we were trying to improvise, the programmers and I, what happening. And another time it would say to her, you have to leave now, please go. You have to go, I mean it, you have to go now. And she would go down from the stage, and then she would finally come up again, and then it would, do something different. But you have to all the time you have to bring it into, you have to put the answer or put the question together with much more information where you want to bring it, because else it would go somewhere else, this AI. So it's not that intelligent, it doesn't have that much memory, but if you can get it into the mood and you can remember it all the time where it is, and what we're talking about, then it can come with some really interesting things. So this is from the second act. We go into the third act, into the three-dimensional, and it's actually harvesting her pictures from her mobile, and it's reconstructing the pictures into 3D, and the particle that you have seen, this shadow of particles that's in the sky, in the cloud, which is generating and is actually harvesting from the AI all the time. It's built up by the AI, by algorithms. Disappears and becomes suddenly to these new morph into these landscapes of photographs where she's going to, where she sits into these three-dimensional pictures. That's her childhood home. And even the parents are particles. And you can see to the left, you have the shadow. Now it has become a real figure, and it's talking with her, and it's actually moving from what it's generating by this improvisational. So it's a big Unity programmed universe that we have been doing. And finally, she goes into this childhood thing, because memory and feeling seems to be very well connected, and the AI finds out about that in the performance. So it wants to see if it can connect, when it connects memory and feelings, and then it can come closer to humanity, which it does, because at the end, she doesn't know what is her memory and what is the AI's memory, because the AI, I mean, doesn't have a memory. At the same time, it has a huge memory because it has the whole internet as a memory. So up here, it's sitting in the tree, and here at the end, we are still working on. I mean, we have an end to the play, but I think we are still working on how to do that, generate this in live also, because now it's doing what it's doing now is actually taking Hans Christian Andersen's the story about the parts about poetry and the parts about the importance of poetry and transforms it into a new text, which is really fantastic, and it becomes an artwork that the AI does itself in the end. So thank you.